Hi everyone, it's Mari here for Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to be creating this card for you today using the beautiful Daisy Layers Bouquet coordinating products. This set of products includes a big stamp set. You can see that large stamp set in the center, which includes 2 daisy bouquets, a single little floral, and then a bunch of really beautiful sentiments that have the most lovely fonts. I really like this set. Not just for the blooms, but for the font. Now, the coordinating stencil set is a set of 6 stencils that allows you to stencil all of the different blooms that you see here in the stamped image. And and then of course there's also the coordinating die set. Now I'm going to start off with the large bouquet here, and I'm going to stamp that out with my Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink onto some white cardstock. And I'm just going to get a really good impression here with my intense black ink, and then I'm going to use those stencils, of course, with some ink blending. Now I do have the stamped image on my Altenews stamp mat, and I'm going to be using Distress inks to color these in. Now I'm starting off with some Dusty Concord, and after the Dusty Concord, I'm going to go in with a little bit of Villainous Potion to deepen up that purple. And this is the first layer of the blooms that I'm working on here. Now I'm going to go in with a bunch of orange tones, including wild honey, spiced marmalade, and carved pumpkin on these florals here. And I'm just going to lift up the stencil every once in a while just to make sure that I'm happy with the amount of color that I have on there. So you can see that I only have it taped down at the top and on one side, so I can just continue to just flip up that edge of my stencil and just take a peek at the intensity. I do really like that the Honeybee stencils are transparent so that it does give you a better idea of, where you're stenciling, but I still do sometimes like to flip up that corner. Now I am going in with a darker tone of orange here for the next stencil. So every time I switch up the stencil, I'm going to add color to the areas, the same area that's just a little bit darker. And in that way, it's just going to vary the colors of the petals on that same flower. Now for the third one, I'm going in with some Abandoned Coral. And on this one, I'm also going to use a little bit of Crackling Campfire and some picked raspberry. I'm just going in to intensify the oranges there in between. And actually I think I'm actually adding Crackling Campfire to the orange ones, not to the pink one, which makes more sense. And it looks like maybe I'm adding it to that other one as well. So, and this is where I'm going to go in and layer a little bit more pink over to that left side so that we kind of have a combination of orange and orangey pink tones. So there you can see how those are layered up. I really like how those are looking. And now I'm going to go in with my greens for my leaves. And so this is the next stencil. This is for the leaves. And I'm going in with some cracked pistachio and just going to blend that cracked pistachio onto the first layer of the leaves. We're almost kind of getting a little bit of a rainbow effect going on here with this color combo that I've chosen for this card. So I'm just going to fill in the last little areas with the cracked pistachio. And then I wanted to go in just with a little bit of peacock feathers to add that to the leaf area as well. And I just really like how that just adds a little bit of intensity in the color to the leaves. So now what I'm going to do is go in with a pigment ink. This is actually Altenews Obsidian pigment ink, and this is a slow drying ink, a really crisp slow drying ink. And what I wanted to do here was a little bit of clear embossing. So I did not move my stamp. I left my stamp in my MISTI from the very first time that I stamped this image, so that when I put it back into the MISTI, I can restamp and it will go in exactly the same spot that it was before. Now I'm just going to coat that black ink with some clear embossing powder. Now what I will mention here is that the Distress ink is not dry, and that was done on purpose. I could have dried the ink first, but I wanted that clear embossing ink to just make my flowers look a little bit glossy. And it's also going to add that glossy detail with that pigment ink and the clear embossing powder on the black ink as well. Now I'm going to take that largest die from the die set, and I'm just going to tape that over top of my image. I'm just going to take some time to make sure that I get that in the right spot. And now you can just see how nicely that die cut that. I have taken a panel of paper that's the same size as my A2 size card front. I've embossed it with the gorgeous Daisy Field 3D embossing folder. And I'm just showing you there how I stitched with my sewing machine around the outside perimeter of the paper. I do a lot of sewing, and I use my sewing machine for crafting as well. And I do have, actually I have two sewing machines. So I have one that's kind of dedicated to fabric, and then I have another one that I use for crafting. So it's kind of handy to have two. I actually inherited one of my sewing machines from my mom. So it's nice to have two sewing machines so that I don't have to use the one that I use for fabric all of the time for crafting as well. And I'm just getting a good liberal amount of adhesive on the back of there. I find that it's important with an embossed paper to make sure that you get enough adhesive so you get a good adhesion here. I'm just going to go ahead and put that down onto my top folding A2 card base, and I'm just going to give that a really good press so that I get a really good adhesion of that embossed paper onto my card base. I'll just give that a good press. Now I'm also going to be using this wonderful spring vine layering frames die, specifically this little wreath of leaves. I've used that to die cut out a piece of black cardstock here, and that's just going to be the spot for my sentiment for my project today. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that with the sentiment that I have stamped onto a piece of cardstock, and then I just die cut that with my circle stacks dies from Honeybee, and that's just going to layer beautifully over top of that piece to create our little sentiment, which is "Miss you so much." And I'm going to pop up my bouquet with some foam dots here, and that's just going to add that little bit of dimension onto my project. Now you could also add some other details to this. You could add some ribbon onto this card if you have. You could add some twine. You could add another little bouquet, a smaller bouquet from the stamp set over top of the larger bouquet. You could create even more layers and dimension with a project. Now I did add my sentiment onto that black base with some foam adhesive, and now I'm just going to glue that onto the center of my bouquet. And now I really wanted to just add some bling, and here I'm using the Aurora Borealis gem stickers from Honeybee. These are fantastic. They go with basically any color family that you choose for your project. And I'm just going to take my pen blade and add them in a bunch of different areas around the bouquet to create a little bit of sparkle and shine. And I just love that. I think it looks really, really pretty for that little bit of extra detail. And I'm just looking at it and deciding I might want a couple more of these little gems on here because they're so beautiful. I love how this particular gem picks up the colors of your project as well and reflects them, so that's perfect. Now I'm using a little bit of paint here to go ahead and do some white paint splatter. This is Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof white, and I've liquefied it a little bit on a little palette over to the side, and now I'm just going to go ahead and splatter that in my splat box onto my project just to add that little bit of extra detail with some white splatter. I love that look. I'm addicted. So that is my card for today, friends. I have linked up to all of the different products that I've used for my project in the description box below. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you again next Friday right here on Honeybee Stamps, where we have a brand new release coming up very soon. Take care, friends, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.